In this video, I want to start talking about the derivatives of our trigonometric functions. In particular, I want to talk about the derivative of sine and the derivative of cosine. I have these functions graphed, and we're actually going to start out by looking at their graphs. So, I have a nice happy function here, and I want to try to sketch its derivative just by looking at the graph. And I'm going to use that sketch to try to guess what I think the derivative of sine is. And then maybe we'll do the same thing for cosine, see if we can guess what its derivative is. In a separate video, I'm actually going to go through the formal derivation of the derivative of sine and the derivative of cosine. But I thought we'd start informally. So first thing, I'm just going to give myself tick marks on the x-axis, just like I have up there. And this is where I'm going to graph y prime. So, if I look at my graph of sine, I see a few places where I have a horizontal tangent line, right? My function goes up and then comes back down, and right there it looks like I'd have a derivative of 0, that horizontal tangent line. So in the graph of the derivative, at those places, I would have zeros. All right, if I look right here at the origin, and I imagine just a little bitty tangent line right there, it looks like it's a line with a slope of 1. It just looks like y equals x in that little bit right there. And I'm also secretly thinking about something else we know from earlier in the course. I know that as x approaches 0, sine of x over x is equal to 1. And one way of thinking about that is when x is close to 0, sine of x looks a lot like y equals x. They behave the same way. So I'm going to imagine that this slope of this line is 1. And because sine has all this beautiful symmetry, right, these 2 points where my tangent lines would be going down from left to right, I actually think those are slopes of -1. And then I need to use my imagination here, but I think I have those same slopes of 1 going on there. And so if I look at this, I think I see a function that satisfies those requirements. And in fact, what I've sketched here is cosine. I think, or at least I'm going to hypothesize, that the derivative of sine is cosine. And that's actually true. The derivative of sine is cosine. All right, I want you to look at the graph of cosine and see if you can mimic that same work I did over there and guess what the derivative of cosine is. Go on and pause the video and give that a shot. Okay, so now that you've given that a try, hopefully, let's see what we think the derivative of cosine is. All right, the boring part where I put tick marks on an x-axis. Now kind of think that I should have done that before I pressed play, but it's okay. All right, looking at the graph of cosine, I see those turnaround points where I have a tangent line that would be horizontal. And so on the graph of the derivative down here, those become my intercepts. And then I look, and that looks like a slope of 1, a slope of -1, a slope of 1. Down here, a slope of -1. And so I look at that here, and I graph this out. And maybe our first guess was that if the derivative of sine is cosine, maybe it works both ways, right? And I look at this and it's not quite right. In fact, it looks a lot like sine except for it's been flipped upside down. So what I'm going to tell you is that the derivative of cosine isn't sine, but rather minus sine of x. And that is also a true statement. All right, I'm going to post a video here in a moment that starts with these two facts and then deduces the derivative of the other 4 trigonometric functions.